What is going on YouTube? Tom here. Today we're going to be talking about some of the best sports cars you can buy on the market right now for under $10,000. Now kicking things off on my list of best sports cars under $10,000 is a GTI, specifically a Mark 6 GTI. Now this GTI came with a 2-liter turbo, 200 horsepower, and about 200 pound-feet of torque, and it's definitely one of the most fun cars and cheap cars you can buy right now on the market. These cars are very mod friendly, so if you're into tuning your cars, I know there's companies like APR out there that you can, buy your tune from, buy an intake and things like that, and you'll definitely have a lot of fun and a lot of power improvement with just a few mods and a simple tune. So even though there's only about 200 horsepower, it's definitely a quick little car, gets up to speed quick, it's very nimble, and one of the best parts about this sports car is that it's practical. Probably the most practical car that I'm going to talk about today. Now with its 5-door design in the hatchback, you can definitely fit a ton of groceries or luggage in the back and you won't have to worry about space. Now although these cars sometimes get a bad rap for having a check engine light on, for the most part they are actually pretty reliable. You see tons on the street with well over 150,000 miles, and that's a good testament to Volkswagen. And as long as you buy a relatively clean condition one that's been kept and maintained relatively well, you shouldn't have a problem with it. Now the Mark 6 GTI can be had anywhere from $7,000 all the way up even to close to $10,000, or maybe even less in some cases depending on the condition and mileage. But overall it's definitely a great value proposition in terms of buying a used, fun, practical sports car. Now the Mark 6 GTIs may not be as fast as the newer GTIs, the Mark 7s, especially when you go to mod a Mark 7. However, the bang for buck is definitely there in terms of value. They may not be as quick, but the speed you get and the performance you get out of a Mark 6 will definitely put a smile on your face. Now coming in on my list at number 4 of best sports cars under $10,000 is a used Mustang. Mustangs often get a bad rap for slamming into crowds due to their live rear axle, but all in all, for value and miles per gallon that they offer, it's definitely a great option to consider when buying your new sports car. Now some of the Mustangs in particular that you can find for under $10,000 is the 4.6 liter V8 3-valve V8. Now these aren't the most desirable Mustangs on the market, but for under $10,000 they can definitely be found, and they are tons of fun. The 3-valve engine produces right around 300 horsepower and very comparable torque, and it is tons of fun, especially when you're looking to mod it. It's not one of those engines that is going to have crazy performance gains with the modifications, but just enough to leave a smile on your face driving around town or hitting the drag strip or taking the occasional trip to Mexico. Now another great Mustang to consider would be the 2003 or 2004 Mustang Mach 1s. Now these Mach 1s are definitely underrated from the factory and see insane power gains from very basic bolt-on modifications and a tune. With a 0 to 60 anywhere from mid to low 5 seconds, bone stock, or even as low as high 4 seconds with some basic bolt-on modifications, these Mach 1s are definitely tons of fun and can be had at a really reasonable price right now. Now what makes the Mach 1 so special? It is a 4.6 liter V8, but it's a 4-valve engine and produces great power all the way through the rev range. A lot of people have heard their 3-valve Mustang kind of runs out of breath up top in the higher RPMs, but the Machs all the way through the red line just keep on pulling and are tons of fun. Now these 3-valve Mustangs could be had literally right now anywhere from $8,000 up to $10,000, maybe even lower in some cases, and I think that's a really good bang for buck in terms of performance for the money. And I know the Mach 1s, they may hold their value a little bit better, so that might be closer up to that $10,000 mark, but it's definitely a good value still for the money. Now coming in at number 3 on the list for best used sports cars under $10,000 is a 2004, 2005, maybe even 2006 Pontiac GTO. Now the 2004 Pontiac GTO came with a 5.7 liter LS1 engine producing about 350 horsepower and right around 350, 360 pound-feet of torque. Now this may not seem like a ton of horsepower, especially when you compare it to modern cars, modern muscle cars coming out producing 400, 500, 600 horsepower, but 350 horsepower for the money that you pay for this car, anywhere from as low as, let's say, $6,500 up to easily up to $10,000 is still definitely a good bargain. Now the 2005 GTOs and the 2006 GTOs came with a 6-liter LS2 engine producing 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. Now if you can swing one of these for less than $10,000, which there are some on the market, these are definitely one of the best 400 horsepower V8 sports cars you can buy today on the market. Now the 0 to 60 time for the Pontiac GTO for the 2004 model is anywhere from mid 5 seconds to low 5 seconds 0 to 60, and the 2005 and 2006 models with the LS2 engine are range anywhere from low 5 seconds all the way up to high 4 seconds 0 to 60, which is one of the best 0 to 60 times on this list. Now, one of the best things about these cars is how easy they respond to basic bolt-on modifications like intake, long tube headers, and a tune. With those modifications right there, you're looking at an easy 30-40 horsepower increase at the wheels, which could be anywhere from 50, 60, 70 horsepower increase at the crank. Now, if you wanted to get serious with your modifications on an LS engine, you could throw a heads cam package on there, and you could have a gain from anywhere from 50 to well over 100 horsepower at the wheel. And aside from the power, the GTO is actually pretty practical. Not to be biased, but I owned one for the last few years, and I never had any problem, throwing groceries in the back. Yeah, the trunk might not be that large, but there's plenty of interior space in the back seats should you need to utilize it for groceries or luggage or whatever you're hauling, in your day-to-day activities. Now, coming in at number 2 on the list for best sports cars right now on the market for under $10,000 is a Nissan 350Z. Now, the 350Z is a great value currently. It's got a 3.5 liter V6, and the horsepower ranges anywhere from 280 to right up around 300 horsepower depending on which year you get. Now, depending on which year 350Z you get kind of depends on the horsepower, as with most cars. The 2003 through 2005 350Zs are known as the DE model and came with about 280 horsepower. The 2006s are known as the DE Rev Up model, which came with 300 horsepower and a slightly higher red line than the DE models. And the 2007 and 2008 350Zs are known as the HR model and have about 300 horsepower, a little bit more than the DE models. Now, obviously, a newer model 350Z may eclipse $10,000. I know the 07s and 08s are definitely really desirable as they're great performance cars, but there's nothing wrong with a DE model, and that could easily be had for under $10,000. The 0 to 60s for these cars range anywhere from mid to low 5 seconds, and for the value, you can have these cars anywhere from, $6,000 all the way up to $10,000, but there's plenty of options out there under $10,000. One great thing about 350Zs is that they are pretty mod friendly, so if you want to throw bolt-ons and a tune on them, you may not get tons of power, but you'll get some and it'll be noticeable, and with an aftermarket exhaust, these cars sound phenomenal. Now, coming in at number 1 on the list of best sports cars you can buy on the market right now for under $10,000 is a Mazda Miata. These Miatas have sold in huge numbers dating all the way back to the 90s, and for good reason. They're lightweight, they're nimble, they're pretty quick. They're not the fastest car out there, but they're tons of fun. That low weight, nimble, tossable chassis is one of the reasons that they've sold so many over the years. The Mazda Miata, specifically the earlier years, the NA and the NB model can be had at a great price right now, anywhere from, you see it on Craigslist from $2,000 all the way up, through $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. Now, one of the reasons they are so cheap is because they sold in the numbers over the course of the year, and people have loved them. Now, this is definitely a good opportunity to jump on this because from what I've heard from my friends, from meeting people at car shows, car meets, it is by far the best bang for your buck car value-wise. The earlier models came with a 1.6 or 1.8 liter 4-cylinder, and they didn't have tons of power, but they were small, they were lightweight, they were nimble, and people loved them. Right now, there's such a big aftermarket community for the Miata that you can pretty much toy with any part on your car and make it your own and have fun with it. It's a great car to learn about cars on, as well as, modify to make it a little bit faster or a lot faster, depending on what you want to do with it, and essentially enjoy it, on the weekends or during the week. Now, these cars are absolutely not powerhouse cars. They're not, big high horsepower V8 cars or even V6 cars for that matter, but the lightweightness of them is what people fall in love with. Now, the earlier Miatas, the horsepower ranges anywhere from 116 all the way up to about 130, 140 horsepower. And again, this may not seem like a lot, but since it's so small and lightweight, it's still plenty fun. And on a nice day, you can take the top off and cruise on the highway or a windy back road, and you're gonna be thanking yourself for buying one of these cars, and especially knowing you spent so little money on it compared to the other cars on the market, you cannot beat that value. Well, there you have it, straight to the point. 5 of the best sports cars you can buy on the market right now for under $10,000. Do yourself a favor, research these cars, see if you have an interest in them, And no matter which one you buy, you know, it's sure to put a smile on your face. And especially knowing you didn't spend gobs of money on a brand new car, you know, these could be just as fun. And the value proposition is definitely there. So if you're a car fanatic like I am and you don't want to spend your hard-earned money on a brand new Mustang GT or, you know, the brand new Corvette, there's plenty of options out there to have tons of fun. And there's a lot more options for under $10,000 than I spoke about in this video. So if you go do your research, you're bound to find a car out there for you, especially if you're looking to enjoy it and have fun, and there's tons out there for under $10,000. Now, if you guys like this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.